this, and let's see if that can show off today now. He's got the loot, he's had his mid-game aggressive fight, which is not normally his style, and now that extra loot might boost him into the end game where he does play so well. And Collazo been struggling a little bit in the heats and qualifiers, didn't have any incredibly massive performances, but I really hope he has it here today. A player that I've been following for a long time as a really good staple pillar in the competitive community is Crunchy, doing well to try and make a name for himself here today as well. I feel like he impressed massively in his heats, and see if he can keep doing it today, Monster.
That's right. He's up there. He's in the top 5 right now. He's got 8 floppers too. We'll be keeping a close eye on him. On the other side, though, it's Accept, who's also looking pretty good loadout-wise, but the medium bullets a bit low. He's in a dangerous situation now to take any kind of fights if he cannot convert on them, because he'll find himself with nothing to take it into the late game. Berserker in the feed, though, is going to light up Bucky, and Bucky's going to fall, not finding his footing out of the Frenzy Farms. It seems like the hot and cold landing spots for him are not doing too hot.
Yeah, and Accept had the mythic loot last game out of Fortilla, so I have to think he didn't get control of Ocean, which means it could be in the hands of Dubs, which could be a massive swing for the tournament as one of those players who can be so consistent in placements. But we've talked about it. Dubs has been getting those consistent placements, but now that's not going to be enough. If he's settling for maybe, you know, top 20, top 10 possibly, but if he wants to push himself up there, he's going to have to pick up some eliminations, because he's falling a bit off the pace. And someone who can pick up those eliminations, who we haven't seen much of today, Clix, a player who can drop big games if he gets the opportunity, going to hold this angle with a sniper rifle. He knows the player's there. He's trying to secure this chest. I don't know if he wants to take the fight. It's a scary situation for this opposing enemy, because Clix, if he gets inside this one, turns this into a bit of a box fight, we know how strong he can be. But there's a couple of eyes on them, and they are on edge storm. So Clix choosing to be smart about this and rotate away, and no! Flicks it back. He baits him with the rotate and flicks it back with the clean quickscope onto Sid. Clix showing that he's still got it very much on 15 points, but one of those players to look out for to drop a big game 5 or 6 when there's nothing left on the line. I expect Clix to go ham, and it's going to pay off in a big way, or he'll drop down even further.
If there's any time to do it, it's now in game number 5. And Sid was in 15th place coming into this competition, coming into this game here. So that's a big drop-off for him. We're going to see him fall in the standings now that he can't accrue any more points. But players like Clix, though, if he turns online now, there still is an opportunity, still is a chance to fight for the big prizing that's on the line here. Time to rotate now, though. This is going to be a far south zone pool. Remember, we had the first 2 games favored downwards towards Weeping. This time around looks like it's going more towards the mountainous side, more towards Caddy's Corner, somewhere down there. And that's going to be some new terrain for these players to play into.
And those are the hardest zones to stay consistent. If it goes up and down, we hear Sundown talk about it all the time. Old Man Mountain will take his toll. If they don't have launch pads, if they don't have maybe one of those 2 mythic items with incredible mobility, it's really hard. You get pushed down the mountain a little bit, and then the zone goes straight back up it. You've got to scramble and fight your way back up with a lot of people. So we could see a very interesting zone and endgame where some of those players like Coop and Class are going to have to really show off their consistency here.
That is right. And even on this rotate here, Clix is not getting it done for free. There's multiple players here that are looking to fight right now. Not sure why, possibly because of Storm Surge that is active now. Players need their tags, and it doesn't matter. You stop in here to fight with Clix. He's going to give it to you, and he's going to do it right there. He did it with the sniper again. This is the 2nd time now he's landed this big bull action shot that he needs. On the other side, it's HooFishy, one of the hottest up-and-coming players, one of the hottest players on this scene right now, who's been not too hot today, specifically. Unfortunately, not really finding what he needs. On the other side, though, P-God, he was off to a very strong, consistent start, and he's had a bad game in the recent ones.
Yeah, and I have to mention how on brand it is that every time we turn into the Peruvian P-God, he's always got the pepper popped. Me and Sundown were messing around with it yesterday with some tongue twisters, but it honestly seems to be his game plan, and it lets him aggressively push forward with speed into fights like this onto Vibify, someone we've unfortunately seen on the feed quite a lot today on the stream, unfortunately at the back end of getting eliminated, as P-God trying to get his way back into this one.
And just a few elims will break him right into top 10, so let's not forget that. He's been doing just enough, as you see. He gets tagged pretty hard there, but I think he's going to be A-okay. On the other side here is D-Roller, sitting up on high ground right now. And this is what I mentioned, the zone pulling southeast is going to really favor into this mountainous terrain, this sketchy place to kind of rotate through. It only gets harder and harder if you're late on the rotates. The players that situate up first are going to have such an advantageous position over the remaining players in the lobby, and it's going to be that much harder to move on out. especially for players like D-Roller who don't have a launch pad, but at least he does have a crash pad. Could be a fight, though, for him to take. He's someone behind the wall there.
The Storm Surge one above, and it's active right now. I think it must be just one above, and yeah, he is. He's gonna have to push towards Daxor, maybe to get some tags off. As we can see, Daxor not doing too hot today, 7 points. I was gonna say maybe the hope for the E11 back-to-back on 2 major regions, but unfortunately I don't think so today. But Daxor needs to win this one, as D-Roller's gonna push around the side. We know he's going aggressive, and we know why. He needs his Storm Surge tags. If you aren't a big fan of competitive Fortnite, you don't follow it. Storm Surge is basically the threshold that D-Roller needs to get above. He needs to get damage above that threshold so that he doesn't start taking 25 damage every 10 seconds, and that's why he's going aggressive. It's why me and Monster were saying how good of a position he was in, and it changed so quickly, and that's why Storm Surge is in the game. It pressures those players so they can't play too passive. You need to have these interactions. You need to have engagements. You need to take fights. You can't just sit back and rest on what you have. As Daxor identifies this, now knows how weak he is, and I think he's going to push forward and punish this one. He has the SMG in the hand, and he also has the 2 crash pads.
Yeah, it looks like D-Roller unfortunately stepped out a little too soon. He was safe for some time, but might have miscalculated how soon he needs to push in, and that's going to be it right there. You saw the tag come through. It doesn't matter. Daxor's going to walk right through him, and he's going to take him out of the game. Let's not forget, guys, D-Roller wasn't in top 10. He was just underneath top 5, so that's going to be a big, big pause for him. We need these players in the top 10 to stay alive and continue to get points if we want this competition to be close. Remember, players like Coop, Class, Accept have such a lead over the rest of the players here that if they stay up, they could easily run away with the competition and never look back. It could be an insurmountable lead they're putting up in front of them. Here's Blake, though, someone who is in striking distance of the top 3, making a very scary rotate across the open waters here. There's even sharks nearby, so he's got to be super careful as the shots are coming in from all the players situated up on the mountain now.
And if you missed it, Blake put up a 20-point game in the first game of today. So he's someone who's around that point with Cooper and Class, who's proven that he can get the win, much like D-Roller. So those are the players you got to keep eyes on. They've proven they can do it, and he did it without ridiculous loot as well. So Blake now, with only 1 mini though, is a situation that you guys know that I love. He needs a fight, and he needs elimination, and he gets absolutely destroyed here, taken down to 11 health. He's going to be up to an effective, 36 health if my math is correct after that mini, which he's going to need a no. He falls, and it was Aspect. I believe maybe it was Aspect that lit him up. We can't see. It was someone lit him up, and Aspect maybe finishes it off, and that's a really, really tough way to go for Blake. And I talked about it earlier. He got headshot sniped in game 2. These are the ones that you need to mentally reset and come back from. You need to try and figure out what went wrong and try to figure it out without just getting too upset, because you still got 1 game ahead of you, and we talked about the prize money. There is a lot on the line today. You can't give up now. You need to close out strong.
That's right. You need to hold that mentality of a champion, as Reverse 2K would put it. Even if you fall, you can still turn around and take a victory in your final game to really bump yourself up to either qualifying, but this time it's for the money, it's for the prizing, it's for the prestigious placement that'll stay etched in your competitive history for a lifetime. On the other side, though, Dubs, consistent, slow, methodical, still breaking and inching his way through new territory here with the placement points that he's been earning. He's at 28 right now. Not too bad, but not quite enough to be in the top 10. Not just yet. P-God's going to find clicks in the feed there. That's massive for P-God. Always turn it online in these mid-games. Not afraid to take a fight. Doesn't matter who you are. Dubs,
I like the choice here of Dubs with the Peppers. Like, it's a good position to be in. We've talked about the mountains around this area. It's going a little bit more towards Misty, so not too much verticality, but the Peppers are really good for making your way up those hills rather than the crash pads where quite often you get stuck under all the builds above you. Dubs also has the launch pad, and no surprise there, Booger in a beautiful high ground power position with sight lines over the whole lobby, as Dubs does get that elimination onto Lunez. So he's got 1 on the board now, and he's looking really, really good. 29 points. Can he jump his way up in there, or can he do the slow and methodical? As we see Kaz over in the corner, someone who I was hyping up a lot, dropped back down into just outside top 10, but he can do this with an average placing so far of around 30th. So he's doing well this game. Just got to keep pushing forward and get into it, as we still have 64 alive, Monster. NA East is not speeding up at all. The leaderboard is speeding up, but the players are still playing their slow, methodical game that they know how.
And you can't blame him. Players like Coop who just want to wait for opportunity to land on him. And yes, he is going to find one. Jelty off in the distance there is going to be the player he knocks out of the competition now, sending him back to the lobby, only to queue up for their final game coming up. This is game number 5, ladies and gentlemen, the NA East grand finals of the FNCS Solos division. There's $500,000 on the line. So you can imagine the pressure is at an all-time high, even for players like Bugha, who have taken the first place on the biggest stages across the world. And during this FNCS, Bugha has averaged more than 7 points per game in his final 3 games. So he is looking to swing his way up. He is looking to stay in the competition and show that he can place another high-placing spot in a solos comp.
Yeah, showing he does. He has that mental fortitude. Obviously, Bugha proven he's a champion on the day of days, won the Solo World Cup, but it was a different story. He jumped out with that massive lead and just had to hold on to it. Did not lose his first place since first game, but showing here as a competitive player, he has progressed even more to be able to close out those tournaments that don't start so strong, and looking to do so here. Drops down with the green tack, and he does. He takes down Cody. A big elimination there. Bugha and Cody also actually used to be teammates too, so maybe a bit of love lost there between Cody and Bugha as he gets that big elimination. And he's back up to 75 builds now, 6 crash pads and the launch pad. And that's one extra player that's now taken out away from him, around him. So he's conditioned this area and now has an even cleaner rotate with not as many people around him as he pulls a pretty difficult half-half, but not too bad of a one here, Monster.
That was huge. Cody did get his fire put out. Once again, another game in a row. He was doing well at the start, but hit that mid-game wall like we talk about, that mid-competition wall that can happen to anyone regardless of how good. Bugha, though, is on the crash pad. He's not slowing down, not at all right now. He's going to position himself up on a nice, great layer here. Bugha, one of the few people that actually look out before they crash pad. He treats it almost like a launch pad if you ever do any reviewals. And this is going to be such a big elim for him. It's going to be onto rocks. Oh my gosh. The impact frag that he needs. He can actually gather up all of the loot here as well. And now maxed out because of the pickup there. This is looking like it could be Bugha's game easily now.
It easily could be, and we've just talked about it. That graphics shown up, we crunched the numbers, and Bugha is good in this tail half of the tournament. So if anyone's going to handle the pressure and show up big here in Game 5, it's going to be him, and that's what you're watching if you've just tuned in. Game 5 of the NA East FNCS Grand Final. Monster just laid on the line. $500,000 is going to be given out in the next 2 games, and a few players need to jump up there right now. You're looking for Coop, you're looking for Class. They've got a decent lead on the rest of the tournament, but we've seen big point swings in the past. Someone can jump up and take their position and get into that top 2 spot. If they fall soon, it's going to be anyone's game for the taking, and that's what you want, a nice tight leaderboard at the top, because this one is going to be a nail biter, except we saw him have a great game last game, but that was with Mythic loot in hand. He walked away with Fortilla with Ocean's loot. Can he do it now with 3 crash pads, 3 minis, and 2 green weaponry with just under 50 builds? It's not a bad loadout, but he's going to have to use it very wisely as we see a nice water zone last season. So these players can still build, they can still block all the shots, but it's very open sight lines. If Accept has to push across here, or those players have to push into him, there's no cover. They have to use their mats. There's no hills, no trees, no houses. It's just you and the opponent in front of you. He's going to go back forward again. He can see if he can try and make his way out of this one.
He's
using another enemy's crash pad.
Remember, I was just going to say, let's not forget the fact that Accept is in the conversation right now for top 3 here, Ozzy.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. He's got a good chance to try and jump up through this one if he can. Holding onto those crash pads, it's with plays like that where he reuses them and goes forward, takes down Zombie, and good thing he held onto those crash pads because now he needs them. Nice rotate onto front side. Ultimate low looking really good down there. Goes up a few layers. I see Calc on the backside with pressure on. I see a few people going for high ground. Bugha's there. We talked about him. He was in a decent position, but now he's fighting his way back in. Illis, we're shooting him as one of the biggest fighters at NA East. He can drop eliminations like anyone. He's going to start making his way through 2 crash pads. One about to come out, but no, he holds onto it till the last millisecond. He doesn't need it. He holds it there. Zone goes back, and now he has that in the back pocket. This utility is everything for him right now. He has no shields. He has 100 health. Those crash pads are going to allow him to get into a box and get a refresh, and this is that. It's exactly what he's looking to do. He gets in there. The epic tac shotgun gets put to use, and he takes down Renans, and now he gets the shield, and that's why you have to hold on to your utility. You need to run it for as long as you can. Wrigley on the high ground, but it's not very secure. He needs to be careful on how he plays that high ground, Monster. Never mind, he's going to keep pushing forward. I think Monster's just reconnecting back in. Hopefully we have him to run this end game, but it might just be you and me, but it's going to be exciting either way. Coop, someone I've been cheering on this whole time, on 50 points, gets another elimination onto COD Genesis. Coop is one of the best players with attack in hand in scrappy fights on backside, and that's what he's going to need to do. He needs to keep pushing it through. He needs to keep going and keep closing this one out if he can.
And here's the RPG on high ground. It's not looking too good here. Wrigley's really going to be manipulating the lobby. That RPG's going to force everyone down the mountain. Players like Bugha have to probably come back over. He's all the way at the bottommost layer. But Wrigley taking a huge risk sitting way out in the top. We'll see how that's going to happen here. On the other side, though, focus on the bottom. Bugha trying to make his crossover now. And Coop as well. Coop still with a big lead here. 52 points. He's made it this far. That is ridiculous. He is only getting further and further away from the competition, Ozzy.
Here's his go, jumping forward here with this one. 53 points on the board right now, and I don't see Class. Class is not in this one contesting it, so this is Coop's tournament. Can he have the huge game 5 and then have the breezy? I'm not entirely sure, but Wrigley, finally someone sees this high ground and makes a play for it, but Hypnos falls, and Wrigley goes deep into Storm. I think they both just went down on high ground. The power position is given up. Coop has to do something to keep pushing forward. 55 points on the board, backside of Storm. He's in the top right of your screen. That's what you want to look at. He misses a couple of shots, but the movement gets him through. He's still got floppers, he still has minis, and he's going back to front side to close this one out, Monster.
He is going insane right now. Bugha in the low ground trying to find anything. He's going to go for the shotgun exchange. He gets it right when he needs it most. The Siphon's going to come through. Just enough mass to keep him alive as well. And it's a two-way fight right now. It's high ground. It's low ground. Bugha versus Zen. And then everyone else up above right now who is battling it out. Dubs, Fishy, Nutsex, all big names on the scene right here for NA East. On the other side, though, Bugha trying to bounce back in the comp. Few seconds now. He's going to play with the Storm. He's playing with fire right now. 3 HP. Someone lands in front of him. It's Dubs. Dubs goes down. Bugha's still running with it. 4 eliminations now. He is clearly in the top 10. Possibly top 5. He might still in the game here, Ozzy.
Bugha closes out strong. We showed it, we said it, we highlighted it, and there he is closing out in a big way. But who can close out this game? Is it who, Fishy? You said it, Monster. He's hot, he's cold, he's looking hot now. He likes his fish hot, and he's trying to push forward. He's going down. He gets pushed down to Nutx, and no, Nutx takes him out. It's a 1v1 situation. Nutx and Exactly, it's closing out. We might see our first heal off, but no, Exactly with Flopper in hand, doesn't want to heal off, jumps out to the side with the beautiful legendary tack shot for the 3 elimination win. Coop runs away with it, Monster, but is the lead going to be enough?
I don't know, but that was a battle of layers, and players like Bugha really stepping it up just like that. But either way, we're sending it over to the desk. We're sending it over to the boys to go in and break down all the action for us.
There you have it. Game number 5 is done and closed. Exactly doing exactly what it needed to find the victory royale. Now, guys, we're getting ready. We've got 1 game left. What we have to do is take a look at the standings, because that is directly going to pretty much dictate what we should expect going into the last game. What do you think, Shai?
For me, it's like, you know, it must be Exactly. He went out the game. He's now ahead, but Bugha got an insane elimination spree, but Dubs was alive, but it doesn't matter, because in first, it's still Coop at 57 points, 19 elims, pushing the lead, still looking so hot up top.
Shio might stutter, but Coop does not. 12 points in the lead, and he's almost at 20 eliminations on the tournament, too. This could be the run for Coop to solidify him as somebody, at least in the mind of the community, who should be up there in consideration for the best solo players, but regardless, they're still hot on his heels. Class, again, only 12 points behind, and that is the kind of player who can have those big games to catch back up.
Bugha has one word on his mind, though, in 4th place. It's manifest. Manifest that World Cup win, being on the top, the solo champion. He's trying to climb back to first, 20 points behind, and still has one more game to push to do it.
Dubs, though, look, same point value. He is tied. Even Illest, right? Just a handful of eliminations, except could make something happen. As you're saying, manifest right now. We have 1 game left, boys. Literally anything can happen. If nothing does, and Coop can hold on, even just placing top 10 with no eliminations would secure him the VR.
You know what's crazy too, guys, is that everybody that we just watched in that last game, I mean, we just saw Exactly come all the way up, probably around the 25th mark. And these guys as well in this page too, they've just risen a significant amount, but there's everybody bouncing back and forth. It's not one person doing it all. It's like a whole bunch of different people and a bunch of different threads trying to grab their lion's share of the prizing at the end of the day.
I'm going to say it right now. Grab your cameras or just take a screenshot of any of these pages past the top 10. They will change next game. Ball is right. It's bouncing back and forth. It's a ping pong. back and forth. It's a ping pong match all the way up top. Everyone right beside there hitting.
Man, guys, this has been such just a joy in general, right? We have one game left to go as Shy just disappears. Goodbye, my friend.
Gone.
We will never forget you. He's gone.
Look, it's
Bala,
too
we've
intense
got
for
one
him.
game.
It's just too intense for him. It's ping-ponging back and forth. He's like, no, I can't take it. Let's go away from here because apparently he can't manifest an internet connection. It's all good.
Guys, you know what? We're just going to step away. We're going to throw back in the game. Monster Deface. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. The replays. We got to talk about some things that did unfold. Man, Manifest, that's just going to be the theme of what we are looking at. Break this down for us.
Absolutely, I will. It's Coop at the top. We wanted to highlight some of the things that he's done to really shine and come all the way to the top. This is in the last game. He's pretty much in a backwards position in the back of zone, no materials. And what he will do is pull out that tack. That was called out by the casters and said that he's so good in these situations, and just a few of them, every single time he's picking up one flopper, finding the pass. I mean, you saw him scoot all the way back up on the right side. It's crazy that he's able to find these things. This was the first game back in front, and still another player in his box. He doesn't care. He's fine with that. He's like, okay, you want to stay? I will take you out. You're good. And then moving into that game, this was probably one of his better games, but every single one was, because Zeke, he has a 10.2 average placement over 5 games. And I think out of the finals that we've watched, even in EU, that was unheard of. This is a little bit more consistent and a little bit more from Coop than we've seen anybody in terms of game after game performance.
And the thing is, he's been able to couple this with a handful of nations, right? Earlier on in the broadcast, Sundown talked about this. Placing high is so important, but you need the eliminations tied with that. If you're just placing high with no elims, you're not going to get that far. Coop has not placed out of top 25 in 5 games. Like, that's absurd.
It is. And for, you know what he's doing like you saw it in the last bit of that package. Like, Sundown called it. Right? He said the players who can play with low materials, the low mat players, will end up being able to find that consistency, find that game after game conversion on points. And you saw it in that. Coop was literally 3 games out of the ones we just watched. The highlights from those was him ducking and diving between all the little old builds. And he always found himself not only elimination, but somebody with floppers where he could outlast and even find more paths to victory.
And a lot of that is just on the backs of confidence, right? You could see it in his play. You could tell Coop is finally firing on all cylinders. I say finally like he wasn't before, but he is. From the beginning, he has his eyes set on the prize. But with one game left, can he hold on?
12 points. That's the difference. With one game left, somebody has to show up, and it really looks like Class might be the only person to be able to do it, so we've got to keep our eyes on that duel, Zeke.
That's right. Viewers at home, make sure you're watching the elimination feed. We're following Coop. Can he hold on and be the new FNCS champion in NA East? It's time to get into the last game to find out. Monster Deface, Aussie Antics, over to you.
And here we have it. The battle bus is underway, and $500,000 is on the line, laid out across this Fortnite world here. It's the last game, game number 6 of the FNCS NA East Grand Finals, and we're here to bring home all of the action. It has been such an intense 5 games, an intense 2 weeks of competition. But it's a question, will Bugha, who just had a huge stride all the way back up to top 5, hold out and take it home? Will Accept do it? Will Class do it? Or will Coop maintain the strong lead that he has set out before him? Monster Deface here in Aussie Antics, and the battle bus is already laid out. And take a look, our competitors are here. They're on the field already.
And they're ready to play. Someone has to pick up the pace here if they're going to catch up to Coop. And is it going to be Class? He's had an average elimination of only 1.8. He's been the slow and steady, consistent player. Does he stick to that? Does he stay slow and steady and hold on to maybe a top 3, top 5 second place? Or does he pick up the pace? Because unless Coop goes down right now, very early on, Class needs to do something different if he wants to take over the lead. Coop has put such a control in this lobby. I talked about it when we were watching Class. Someone needs to jump up and put the pressure down. Who is it going to be? And it's been Coop. It's been the story of Coop today, but a lot of other people want their story told. Bugha, someone who's used to the limelight, catching up from behind, a position we don't often see him in for solos tournaments, but as you saw earlier with that statistic, he plays so strong in his final few games, and if you're looking for anyone to jump up and have a huge 2 strides, because we saw 1, it's going to be Bugha.
That's right, Bugha's already done it. Players like Young Pauk have done it as well, thrusting themselves up, as did Crims too. So these are all of our vets that are showing that they can still turn up in the final moments. We talked about players like Reverse who were able to do it as well, and that's what we talk about, the mentality from the champions, being able to step up to the plate when it matters most. Either way, though, there's a lot of action unfolding here. Here's the highlight from Class and how he picks up one of his first eliminations onto Zlim from downrange. And oh my gosh, we get the shot from 2 perspectives there, Ozzy. That was disgusting.
We get the bystanders as well, sitting on the rocks, the little coral just watching out, seeing that unfold, and that was brutal. But it's another point for Class, and it's another point closer to Coop. We haven't seen Coop in the feed, so he hasn't gone down, but he hasn't got a limbs too. So Class is edging forward, and those kind of eliminations are the big difference as we see Crunchy here setting up a bit of an ambush tactic, and I'm not sure who is inside this house, but he knows they're rotating out, sets up with the AR. Can he get the shots to convert? And yes, he can. Cracks the shield off, only has 1 mini, and Lunez, who we've seen have a pretty rough day here today. World Cup solo qualifier himself, falling, not able to keep up with the pace. Unfortunately, something went wrong, and Crunchy gets a big refresh and a big jump up that he needed.
We're still going to give a big shout out to players like Lunez, players like Zlim, and all the other fallen competitors already here in the last game. Their last chances out the window now because they are still the best of the best. We're looking at the 100 greatest in the region. Players like Blake proving that they have what it takes, even as the newer up-and-comers, the stars that have been around. It's their time to shine. Will Blake do it? He's got 34 points. This is a battle that matters a lot. We talk about $1,000 engagements, big money on the line, and Blake loses to Clix finally in the early game because Clix needs it. There's no alliances here, not in any drop spot, not in solos, and Clix finds his 18th point there.
And you talk about solos, you talk about alliances. Clix and Blake, 2 renowned teammates. They were duo modes until recently. They didn't duo in the last iteration of Fortnite, but they were teammates for so long, and there's going to be a bit of love lost there. Blake is going to be upset. We've talked about it. Blake has had some of the most heartbreaking eliminations I've seen today, either getting absolutely destroyed and beamed up from a player he can't see, headshot snipes, now getting into a box fight with Clix, probably the last person on the map you want to have a fight with.
And you can see it there. Things are still kicking up, though. It's Bugha.